Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please take a seat and we'll get underway. Welcome to the closing ceremony of the Southern Hemisphere Space Studies program. My name is Michael Davis. I'm co-director of the program, and it's my honour to be the moderator and master of ceremonies today. Before we do anything else, please welcome the participants in this year's SHSSP. Those of you who were at the opening ceremony will recall that the participants entered under their national flags. In the 5 weeks since the opening ceremony, we have become a cohesive international group, and that was symbolised by the fact that our participants entered today under the flag of the International Space University. Welcome to our distinguished guests. Welcome to Professor David Lloyd, Vice-Chancellor of the University of South Australia, and welcome to Mayor Anne Ferguson from the District Council of Mount Barker, and all our distinguished guests, our faculty colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen. I remind you that we're meeting on Kaurna land, and we pay our respects to their ancient land rights and to their elders. Before we hear from our various speakers, we'd like to show you a short video which gives our participants a quick memory jog of everything they've been through in the last 5 weeks, and it gives all of us a bit of a summary and a picture of our program this year. So please roll the video. This program is a unique partnership between two universities. The University of South Australia, celebrating its 25th anniversary, and the International Space University, celebrating its 29th anniversary. The relationship goes back to 1992, and it's unique in the world in that we are the only university here in Australia to have hosted multiple programs in partnership with the International Space University. And this partnership keeps getting stronger, and you'll hear more about that during the ceremony. So it's with great pleasure that I invite my colleague and good friend, Mr. John Connolly, former Chief Exploration Scientist from NASA, and also the director of this program, to speak to you on behalf of the International Space University. John.
Well, thank you, everyone. Seems like we've met here in this room many times, and unfortunately, we won't be meeting here tomorrow. Maybe that's good news for all of you. The Southern Hemisphere Space Studies program began 5 weeks ago with 31 of you arriving from different parts of the world, not knowing one another, and what a difference 5 weeks has made. It seems like only yesterday we were starting this space endurance test that we were going to put you through. You came in here strangers. Maybe you had some ideas, some rumors of what would take place at ISU, but there's nothing like experience. So hopefully, during the past 5 weeks, you've grown from this group of strangers, bound loosely by your love of all things space, to a group of friends bound tightly by your shared experiences over these past 35 days. And that's what ISU is. ISU takes strangers from different countries, and through the intense experience of our programs, creates many lifelong friends and changes us all in the process. ISU leaves everyone who experiences it with a life experience like no other you've ever had. So much so that when you entered the auditorium this afternoon, as David said, you entered as a family behind one ISU flag. That brings us to today. Here we are, 5 weeks later, dozens of new friends later, almost zero sleep later, and hopefully you're all exhausted, exhilarated, and wanting for more. The Space Studies program, as I said, is very unique. It's part academic, part networking, and part intercultural social experiment. You've probably figured that out by now. All of us were brought together by this common bond of space. We believe that space is the answer and that it transcends national boundaries, cultures, and technical expertise. For the time we were here, we made Adelaide, Australia, one of the centers of the space universe. As the SHSSP16 community, we mingled with astronauts. We got to talk to dignitaries. We got to learn each other's cultures, eat each other's food, dance each other's dance. And through all of this, we were transformed by the experience. As you head back to your respective countries, to your respective homes, you'll find the world a little different place than when you arrived here. First of all, everything will seem like it's going in slow motion. Over the past 5 weeks, we've been going pretty hard. And when you leave here, you'll notice that the rest of the world moves quite a bit slower than we move here. The intense conversations you've had with colleagues here at this program may not happen as frequently in the real world. But don't worry, because those colleagues will always be there for you, because you're now part of the ISU family. So go forth and spread the word. Tell your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, anybody who will listen to you about what you've experienced. Above all, though, stay in contact, because that's what families do. Every ISU session creates its own lore. And what I mean by that is its own stories that endure over time. whether it's, let's see, thinking back to the toga parties of the original 1988 session, or the heat wave in Strasbourg in 2003, the 2004 launches from Woomera, or the 1991 International Mars Project, where we had 137 people in the class, and they all worked on one team project together. These are the kind of things that go into ISU history. The lore of this program has yet to be written, but I'm pretty sure that what can does SPOM will certainly be part of it. Over the coming weeks and months, you'll reflect back on these experiences, and the lore will come to you. Those events, those happenings, those conversations, those feelings that you'll forever carry with you in your memory every time you think back at your experience here at UniSA. So to the class of the 5th Southern Hemisphere Space Studies program of the ISU, I bid you good luck, clear skies, and following winds as you journey home. Our farewell is only temporary, however, and it's an unfortunately necessary step before we can meet again in the future, at some time, at some place, and on some world. So thanks. It's now my pleasure to introduce a greeting from one of our founders, Dr. Peter Diamandis. Peter is an international pioneer in the fields of innovation, incentive competitions, and commercial space. In 2014, he was named one of the world's 50 greatest leaders by Fortune magazine. In 1988, he and fellow MIT students, Bob Richards and Todd Hawley, founded ISU as a way to offer future leaders in the space sector an international, interdisciplinary, and intercultural education, as well as a shared experience and a common network. He's also the co-founder and executive chairman of ISU's sister institution, Singularity University, which studies exponentially growing technologies and their ability to transform industries and solve humanity's greatest challenges. In the field of commercial space, Peter is co-founder of Planetary Resources, a company designed to mine precious metals from asteroids. He's also co-founder of Space Adventures and the Zero Gravity Corporation. In the field of innovation, you might have heard his name associated with the X Prize Foundation. He's chairman and CEO of that foundation, best known for its $10 million Ansari X Prize for private spaceflight. Peter is a New York Times best-selling author, and he also holds engineering degrees from MIT and his medical degree from Harvard Medical School. Quite an underachiever, Peter. His mission is to open the space frontier for humanity. His personal motto is, the best way to predict the future is to create it yourself. I always start out asking Peter to come and attend these sessions in person. I ask him, wouldn't you enjoy a relaxing trip to Australia? But knowing Peter, there's no relaxing in his life. Anyone who's done as much as he does doesn't really know how to relax. So he called me back and apologized for not having the time to be with us personally, and instead offered this video for the SHSSP class of 2016. I just hope I remember to tell him that we were at the beginning, or we're at the end of the program, not the beginning. So let's see what he says. Okay, Peter.
Hi, my name is Peter Diamandis. I'm the chairman and CEO of the X Prize Foundation, but more importantly, I'm the co-founder of International Space University. I'm reaching out to you from across the other side of this planet to thank the University of South Australia yet again for hosting the Southern Hemisphere SSP at the Mawson Lakes campus for the 5th time. Thank you to Vice Chancellor David Lloyd for your continuing support of ISU. We look forward to returning to UniSA next January for the 6th installment of the Southern Hemisphere SSP. This makes UniSA the host of the most ISU SSP programs going back, well over a decade. Thank you to ISU MSS alumni Michael Davis for being the driving force behind the Southern Hemisphere SSP. And my personal thanks to Leslie Grady, who has worked her logistics magic to make this program happen again. And of course, an undying gratitude to the captain of our ship, John Connolly, director of all the ISU SSP programs, one of our alums, a dear friend, member of faculty. John, you're a superstar. So now, to all of the participants who have joined us, all of you are going to experience something extraordinary over the next 5 weeks. The ISU experience is truly profound, and many of our alumni have gone on to change the space world forever, whether they're flying in space, building hardware, building spaceships, whatever it might be. We are living during the most profound and magical time ever to be passionate about space. You know, as we look forward thousands of years from now, it'll be these next few decades as the moment in time when the human race irreversibly moves beyond the bounds of Earth to the stars. You know, we are building a whole new generation of spaceships and new technologies and new capabilities, whether it's to get humans to Mars or to go out and prospect asteroids for metals and precious materials and fuels. It is truly one of the most extraordinary times ever to be alive. So as you return to your jobs, I want you to view space in a brand new way, a much broader perspective, and to have an appreciation for the many, many specialties, whether it's architecture, business management, life sciences, you know, engineering, policy and law, all of these areas that have to work together to open up the space frontier. You should also leave with a new sense of what is possible in space. So we're, again, at a time where the future is not limited by anything in the past. We have more capital than ever before, access to 3D printing, artificial intelligence, new materials, and I, for one, am proud to have you joining the ISU Alumni Corps. The Alumni Network is everything. We've had some and many alumni go on to lead most of the national space agencies, and the vision that Todd Hawley and Bob Richards and I have had since the beginning is that one day you're going to be sitting across the table in this negotiation for a contract, negotiation for an intergovernmental agreement, whatever it might be, and the person across the way from you will be an ISU alum, and you will figure out how to navigate all of the politics and determine and figure out how to make your vision of the future happen. ISU is part of what we call the benign conspiracy. When Todd, Bob, and I put this together, the notion was, we start with our summer programs, we go on to our permanent campus, and then eventually to orbit and beyond. And it really is the benign conspiracy of all of us working together towards the future of humanity beyond the bounds of Earth. So I wish you an amazing 5 weeks. Now let's go out there and make some history. Have a fantastic time. I hope to meet many of you in the decades ahead.
Thank you, John and Peter. It certainly feels like we've been in orbit for the last 5 weeks. One of the many decisions that our class has had to make in the last 5 weeks is to elect one of its members to speak on behalf of the class to this closing ceremony. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Bruce Clark, who's a recent graduate in both science and engineering from the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom. And I'd now like to invite Bruce to address this closing ceremony.
Hopefully I won't keep you all here too long. So I'd first like to offer my thanks, and thanks on behalf of the class, to the faculty here at ISU, and also to the teaching assistants who really made this course the experience that it was. I would also like to offer thanks to the University of South Australia, who've hosted us again this year, and again made this experience really fantastic. My third thanks goes out to my fellow participants, who I think have performed admirably on this course. Just going around yesterday, as we were all tired after a presentation in the white paper, there was a sort of consensus that the course had been challenging and had been intense over the last 5 weeks. So difficult appears to be the stranger's view of the course. However, I think from within, that changes significantly. Over the past 5 weeks, the entire class has faced a lot of challenges set to us by the faculty. And people with little to no experience of these things have really risen to meet the challenges and performed spectacularly in the face of this kind of adversity. We've seen engineers become camera operators and webcasters. We've seen teachers and geologists become overnight experts in the field of image processing. We've also seen participants from different nationalities and backgrounds come together to exchange their cultures. And in doing so, we've come to understand each other not just as colleagues and people who are interested in space, but also as friends. So from within, it's easy to see that despite being pushed relentlessly for 5 weeks, what we take from the course is what we choose to take from the course. That's not just a test score, it's not just a white paper, but it's the ideas and relationships that I firmly believe will change the world. Thank you.
So I'd now like to invite Bruce to make a presentation to the Mayor of the District Council of Mount Barker, the Honourable Anne Ferguson. So the Mayor is receiving one of the images that we obtained in our stratospheric balloon project, superimposed on commercial imagery of the town of Mount Barker. And it shows the oval where we launched our helium balloon from. The balloon ascended to 36.4 kilometres and was retrieved by our recovery team 130 kilometres to the east, that is to the east of the River Murray in the middle of the Mallee. And in spite of that, we were able to track the balloon for the whole of its journey, and we knew exactly where it was, which is more than we could say about the second recovery vehicle that managed to get lost. And they got lost in a part of South Australia that didn't have any mobile phone coverage. So they were unable to track the balloon, but they managed to find a pay telephone in a very small town to the east of the River Murray. They telephoned us, they spoke to Mark McKay, our IT guru, and Mark was able to give them verbal directions on which way to go in order to meet the rest of the recovery team. Somehow, miraculously, they found each other. So it was a story of high technology and almost no technology. And so, the Mayor, this is, we hope this will be a nice memento of your sponsorship of our launch project. And it was so successful, we'd like to do it again. So we'd love to come back to the District Council of Mount Barker in 12 months' time and have as much fun as we had this year.
Thank you very much, Mike and Bruce, for this, and to all the participants. It was certainly an honour and a privilege to have you in our district, and I hope you go back with some fantastic memories of the 5 weeks you've had here. And as I was watching that video, there was a lot of laughter, and one of my mottos is, if you don't laugh every day, it's a day wasted. So I don't think you wasted any days while you were here on the 5 weeks. So thank you very much for your contribution, and the university and everybody that was involved, because we at Mount Barker certainly want to be involved in the future, and I think we've started a little fire that might turn into a bushfire.
Thank you. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of South Australia, Professor David Lloyd, who many of you will know is a real space nut and a very strong supporter of our program and many other activities in this university around space research and space science. So without further ado, I'd ask Professor Lloyd to speak to the closing ceremony.
I haven't been introduced as a space nut before. You're very welcome. I mean, I'm now in this university. This is the beginning of my 4th year, and in the very first week of my first year, when I still didn't know where Mawson Lakes was. I was out here, and your predecessors in Program 3 were here. And I got wheeled in as the president of the university, who I happened to be walking past, and asked to speak to the class. And I just happened to be wearing my NASA cufflinks that day, which were given to me by Charlie Bolton. So I was able to tell a story about how I met Charlie and how important space was in bringing me to be a scientist. And I told a story about Hamilton, the mathematician, who was an Irish guy who described, by etching it into the bridge of a wall, the wall of a bridge, non-Hamiltonian quaternions. And Hamiltonian quaternions, of course, put Buzz and Neil on the moon, and they put Buzz and Woody onto the small screen. So it was a very nice little anecdote, and I do trot it out every now and again, and it's useful because I made it up on the spot. The facts are actually true. These things did happen. I just hadn't assembled them in that order before. And we've since had Charlie Bolton back here, and we've conferred an honorary doctorate on him. And I was in NASA Ames not that long ago, and I was surprised. Actually, I was really pleasantly surprised to see how many ISU alums there are on the ground in NASA. So this program takes people into interesting places. And over the last 5 weeks, you've had a very interesting journey. I was smiling when Peter launched the program behind us there, just as we concluded, because it's kind of fitting with the gravimetric wave discovery yesterday and relativity and the space-time continuum being demonstrated, that he probably did launch it 5 weeks ago and also concluded it today. And it's all just relative, depending on where you are as you watch the video. So 31 participants from 10 countries. It's been our pleasure to have you here. We're exceptionally proud to be partners with ISU in bringing the Southern Hemisphere Space Program here. And we're exceptionally pleased to be bringing it back again next year, which puts us into the ISU record books. And we'll continue to do it because it's a great partnership. It's very important to this institution. It's very important that this partnership allows us to educate modern professionals for the space profession. And we do thank our co-sponsors, because with their help, we managed to bring Bob Thirsk and Jean-Jacques Favier here. You guys had the wonderful experience of meeting them. We had the wonderful experience of hosting astronauts on the campus. And the public had the wonderful experience of actually asking them questions, which went beyond how does the loo work. And that's always an important thing, because we need to push the boundaries of knowledge, and we need to push back fear and ignorance every opportunity we get. And being able to broadcast real facts and real information to people is incredibly important, because this will be the new frontier for exploration, for innovation, and the translation to public good will be astonishing. I was going to tell the story of the balloon in Mount Barker, but Mike managed to tell all of that. I'd even managed to change my notes that said it went up 25 to 36.4, but I won't do that. But what it did do was it shone a light on how experimentation and real-world simulation of it's a suborbital rocket launch actually has benefits. Because I don't know if, I'm sure you guys know this, because I'm sure there's a big communication piece, but many people in the room won't know that when the payload came back down again and it was opened up, a freezing problem was discovered in one of the antennae, that if we'd actually put it up in a rocket, it wouldn't have worked. The satellite wouldn't have worked, and we would have wasted millions of dollars doing that. So launching a balloon in Mount Barker has saved millions of dollars for space exploration and space communication. And, the balloon itself, it was expensive fabric, but it was a worthwhile investment. And our investment in the program, your investment in your time, the 5 weeks you spent here pretending to be Na'vi, it's very, very important. I also noticed that one of the core staff has gone on to be a Martian. Is that true? Can people confirm this? That Josh Richards is actually locked in a Martian HAB in Sydney, selling Blu-rays of the Martian movie. Yeah? I believe he's going to be reoriented when they let him out, because I think he gets out today, but he's got to be I think it's bone density is the biggest issue that they have to deal with. So I am somewhat of a space nut. I do it in my privacy of my own house, and the fact that we are the University of Enterprise is only a coincidence. I also wrote a blog on leadership called "What Would Captain Kirk Do?" You should read it. It's actually quite good. So I want to thank you all once again for taking your talents to the University of South Australia, for taking the time to actually really explore what is a frontier in a new profession, to being part of this cohort, to take away these wonderful memories from Adelaide. I hope you come back time and time again, and I hope that you tell all your friends to join, because there's a course that will be open next year, same place, same time, next year, be all relative. Have a great time, safe travels back to your homes, and take with you these memories, and we're very, very proud of you.
On behalf of everyone in the program, David, we'd like to accept this small memento, which includes a very nice ISU patch.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. So we now come to the important part of the ceremony, the conferral of certificates of graduation. And so I'd like to ask the staff who are going to participate in the certificate awarding to come forward. And I'll read out their names in dinner number order. And well, you can probably imagine what dinner number order means. The first row, please make your way to your assembly point. And I'll read out the names one by one. And first, the participants will receive their certificates from the program director and Ms. Carol Carnett, for those who will also receive the Space English Access course certificate, and then they'll receive their executive certificates from the University of South Australia. So the first person to receive their certificates is Andrew Butler. Kao Wenhai. Christina Serioni. Rowena Christensen. Bruce Clark. Lydia Drabsch. Fang Haijian. Bradley Farquhar. So could the second row please come forward? Gustavo Fonseca Naranjo. Dominic Hardy. Hong Xin. Ishraj Inderjeet. King Kumar. Lu Shan. Connor McDonald. Mei Kwang. Melissa Marino. Rashmi Nair. Next row, please. Jessica Orr. Tristan Perkins. Matthew Richardson. Oh, sorry. Jackie Slevero. Lisa Stojanovsky. Wang Hui. Wang Linji. Wu Yuan. Yang Hongwei. Yong Shi. Zhang Kuli. Zhao Shuzhang. And finally, our flag bearer and class representative, Zhu Jianbo. Okay. Yes. Vice Chancellor.
I forgot one thing. I assume you've seen Apollo 13. That's what happened to electricity.
So before the program director sits down, he would like to make one more presentation for outstanding academic achievement in this program. And I'd like to call forward Rowena Christensen to receive the award. So, congratulations, Rowena. You are the top academic achiever in a class of very, very high academic merit. So you should be very proud. So before we close, I'd like to invite the Pro-Vice Chancellor responsible for the Mawson Lakes campus and the person whom we have to really thank for making available the people and the resources which have been so important to the success of this program. And I know that Simon is a very big supporter of this program, and we have to thank him very much for everything he's done. And so without further ado, I'll invite Pro-Vice Chancellor Professor Simon Beecham to say a few words.
Thank you, Michael. And as our Vice-Chancellor, Professor David Lloyd, has already said, we're very, very proud of this long and enduring and strong partnership we have with ISU. And in a few seconds, I'll acknowledge and thank the core staff who have helped out on both sides, from ISU's side and also from UniSA's. But to accomplish what you have accomplished in the last 5 weeks has taken a huge effort and a huge support from people beyond just this core staff, and my deep gratitude goes to everybody who has contributed to this outstanding programme. And there's too many people here to individually acknowledge, but a big thank you from the University of South Australia, and a big thank you to our partners at Mount Barker Council as well. I think the experience that you have had both on campus here at Mawson Lakes and also in the field has been tremendous, and I hope that you go back with very, very warm memories of your time here at the University of South Australia. So I'd like to now formally acknowledge and thank the core faculty and staff team that have made the SHSSP 2016 programme possible, and the first of those is Mr. John Connolly. And next, Michael Davis. And Carol Carnett. And Ray Williamson. And Ray was the white paper lead, and the other white paper lead, Mr. Noel Seaman, unfortunately can't be here today. He's had to return to Sydney, but we'll send his gift to him. And the IT guru, Mark Mackay. And in charge of logistics who was also a teaching associate, Mr. Rob Hunt. And another teaching associate, Sarah Fitzjohn. And another teaching associate and photographer, Shripathi Hadigal. And a teaching associate and maybe Martian, who is still in a box on Circular Quay in Sydney, and we will send a payload to him containing his gift. So Josh Richards, thank you. And every programme needs one of these. All-round volunteer, chauffeur, photographer, and just about everything else. Terry Clark. And last and very much not least, Leslie Grady, who has just been an absolute superstar all the way through all of these programmes. So thank you very much, Leslie. Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. And I think, Michael, I'll hand back to you.
Okay, it's almost time to fire the engines and start the deorbit. And it's quite an emotional moment for all of us, I think. Before we do go, we should thank and acknowledge our main sponsor, the Sir Ross and Sir Keith Smith Fund, without whose financial support we could not have done this program. Thank you also to the Secure World Foundation, to NASA and to the European Space Agency, to Engineers Australia and to the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. You'll all be hearing from us again. So it's now my duty and honour to declare this program closed, to invite all of our guests to join us for refreshments in the foyer outside, and to prohibit any of our participants from leaving. We have to do a secret ceremony only in the presence of the participants, which will take about 10 minutes, and then our participants will join all of you in celebrating the last few hours or minutes of the program. And I know that some of you have to leave very soon. But thank you, and see you again next year.